But yeah.
Yeah, Wichita State has
I
like
got
a
a
whole
picture book with a crosswise X on it.
I love that was your first.
The only book I need is the Bible.
The Babel.
The
Bible.
Bibble. The good old Bibble. Hello and welcome to the Games That Made Us podcast. I'm Brent. I'm here with my friend Kirk. Say hi, Kirk.
Good morning.
And as always, we're joined by our good friend Benny. Say hi, Benny.
You sounded like you choked on that.
Right?
Maybe I did.
It was an English accent if the guy got punched in the gut, right as he was saying.
Or the neck. Like. Still, I liked it. I regret nothing.
So, little inside baseball for y'all. Kirk got a new mic stand, and all I can see of him is his eyes.
Yeah.
So, his disapproving look as he stares over the mic stand at me is really priceless. I feel like I should take a.
So I got a reflection screen to test out. And I put it just low enough so just my eyes are looking at Brett and Benny, and it's kind of menacing. Really, I love it.
It's great.
He's over there looking like he's rocking the vote as well.
Yes, yes. But so if
I should get the I voted sticker and put it like right on the other side of the screen.
If Kirk's audio sounds much better, that's why. Although Kirk's audio always sounded good. So hi fellas, how we doing?
Good.
Good.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Certainly.
I'm alive, I guess.
Yeah. It's it's definitely another day.
Cellular metabolism, am I right?
Yeah.
Jeez. I feel that more than I thought I would.
That's right.
Like I'm still a ghost piloting a meat skeleton, so
Oh, entropy. It's great. But yeah. Hey, so what are we drinking, fellas? Kirk, what do you got over there?
what
do you got in the can?
Well,
What's in the box?
Jeez. So I recently had to go out to Wichita, Kansas, which was a bit of a hike. Which
we just all become Bugs Bunny at once.
Yeah. And we have a friend who always travels out into the various parts of the United States, and he found out that I was going to Wichita. He said, "You got to hit up the Hopping Gnome Brewery." So when I went to Wichita, I made sure to go out of my way to hit up the Hopping Gnome Brewery. So I am drinking their Aqua Gnome. It's quite tasty. I'll pass it around later if you guys want some. But
yeah.
What is it?
A beer.
Thank you.
That's helpful. Yeah.
No, I really don't know. So
it's 40 weight? I don't know. What the fuck are you talking about?
No, honestly,
Kirk's drinking fucking motor oil.
It tastes like a very bitter IPA. Unfortunately, I didn't get to taste this one in particular when I was there. It was one of their seasonals that they had canned and in their fridge. I'm like, well, because I tried pretty much everything they had when I was there.
Yeah.
But they didn't have this one, and I couldn't just taste it. So this is only the second can I've ever had. So without any description beforehand, it's hard for me to say what they at least were trying to do with the beer.
Yeah.
But it tastes like a really kind of very hoppy IPA. Well, most IPAs are kind of super hoppy.
Sure.
Yeah.
But more on the bitter, West Coast side.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's my jam.
Like Voodoo Ranger, like their generic, kind of like that. It tastes a lot like that, but it's good.
That's right.
Like a cleaner version of that.
Yeah.
Nice.
The fruity stuff that it's the newer IPAs I don't care for.
That and their logo is just adorable.
He's so cute.
Yeah.
I love him.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm rocking their t-shirt right now too.
Benny, what about you, man?
I picked up it's a bright sunshiny haze by Goose Island. It's one of the Beer Hug line.
Yeah. I love Goose Island.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Fun.
Actually, I haven't tried it yet. Let me
see
what that's like.
Yeah, give us your Cliff Notes.
And of course, it's a big beer.
It is a big beer.
It's traditional.
It's a big beer for a big man.
Yep. If it's not the size of a small child's
also,
head.
that's delicious.
Yeah.
That's actually, it's not as strong as some of the others in this line, which are all like pretty high gravity. This one's 6.8, so it's still high, but
but
like they have another one that's 9.9. Like
it's not a skull smashing. Like
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh shit!
It's not a pangalactic gargle blaster of a
gargle blaster.
Yeah, pangalactic gargle blaster. Isn't that from Hitchhiker's Guide?
I don't remember.
I
took it out of context and was real proud of you.
No, it's the one where Zaphod says it tastes like having your head smashed in by a brick wrapped in a slice of lemon.
God, he was such a good writer.
God, yeah, I love Douglas Adams.
Should I pass this?
Hang on. All right.
We're passing
beers around a little bit.
The hopping gnome. That's 7%. I didn't realize that was 7%.
Would you like to try the beer?
Yeah, sure. Let's all get COVID.
Yeah, that's nice.
I can
pass it back to him.
Yeah, like I said, very very clean.
I guess I could have just handed it to you rather than handed it to Benny.
Somehow we don't end up with our original beers, and we just kind of roll with it.
What would be great is if we didn't end up with our original beers or our original microphones.
I thought you were going to say original bodies, like we were like
that.
Like
I honestly thought he was going to go with that.
Like
too.
One of those body swap, like the Futurama body swap.
Yes, this is Freaky Friday,
or a more
podcast edition.
A more recent movie, and I'm blanking on the name of it, but there's a recent body swap movie, and it's really upsetting. Don't watch it if you don't want to experience existential dread.
I think I've passed the Rubicon on that one. That's like every day. Crossed the Rubicon. Hang on, let me edit that in. Crossed the Rubicon.
This is a Rubicon farther. This is like the Delaware if it's like on
Fire.
Neptune, and it's like liquid ammonia or like ammonia gas, like frozen. Like you touch it and then you melt and freeze at the same time. I don't know, some nightmare shit. So it fucked with me a little bit. It was like it was like you swap and then some people die while they're swapped, and then you're just like in someone else's body and your body's dead, but you're not in it.
Oh, fuck. So, is this a French movie? This feels like a French horror movie.
I get that makes sense. No.
Okay.
Has like that kind of has like an altered carbon kind of sound to it, the way you're describing it.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
This one's more. There's some immediacy to this one that's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Okay. I haven't finished Altered Carbon. I've thought about reading it, and I've watched a couple episodes. Anyway.
Yeah. I am
I am uncertain in the security of my body and my persistence in this universe.
Well, yeah, I mean that's smart with the blankets hanging on the walls. Okay, so I am drinking something that you can't have, listener. You can't have it unless you. I mean, you guess you can if you come to my house, but I
You don't say that. You're gonna have just fucking random strangers knocking on your garage door. Man,
nobody knows who I am.
I don't know. You fucking dox yourself pretty fucking hard. If I listened to the episodes, I'd be like, yeah, I know where this fucker lives.
Yeah, that's fair. Oh, so yeah, I was talking about when I was drinking. I am drinking a cranberry cider that I made.
Cranberry.
I have
nice.
I have it on draft here in the basement, and it is okay. It is a solid 6 out of 10, and it is like
that's not fair. I always love your cranberry cider that you make. It's always delightful. It's always refreshing. It's like especially a morning like this where it's a little bit cool out,
yeah.
like just a little bit cooler than normal. It's like the perfect fall kind of drink.
Thank you.
I enjoy it, and I'm going to drink the shit out of it before I leave today. So you might have to like forklift my ass out of here.
Excellent. Yeah, because it is like 7%, so it'll get you there.
Nice.
Benny brought us this game.
I'm sorry.
We are going to be. You don't have to apologize. We'll make you feel bad all on our own.
Okay.
We are going to be talking about
Empire.
which is a PC exclusive game, correct? I can't imagine they ever put that on a console.
I don't believe they ever ported it to anything.
Yeah.
Nor why would they?
Yeah. Yeah. Bay, do you want to tell us a little bit about kind of the history and development of the game and like how you came to it?
Yeah, I actually probably should have gone back and gone back to at least like the year it was published. Now I can't even remember off the top of my head. But it is a Sierra RTS.
Right.
And that's really where this game comes to me from is, that makes sense. 2001.
Okay.
So this comes kind of on the heels of Age of Empires. Right. And it's not a coincidence that Empire's in the name. It's another Sierra RTS. Right. And we've talked about it before. It's right on that cusp of 2D and
yeah.
And kind of pixel drawing into more
3D rendered
3D and polygonal designs. Right. And this game shows its age in how primitive. In fact, I sent Brent a potential thumbnail for the episode.
Right.
Because it is not a pretty game.
No.
It does some things pretty well. It does a bunch of things very mediocre and a couple things. So it's very much a bell curve. It does most things like just fine. It's mediocre. A couple things are great. And then a couple things are really bad. And one of the things that's really bad is how visually it presents, especially in the modern day. Like today, it just doesn't look good. In fact, I had to shim the application on my computer just to get it to render in a way that was playable on my computer.
Well, and we've talked about it before. This era of particularly PC games, there was a really strong isometric pixel graphic thing that hung on PC longer than it did on consoles. And I mean, that's, we've talked about Baldur's Gate. We mentioned on that like Diablo and Fallout and Ben just mentioned Age of Empires.
And nostalgia drives continued production of games that kind of look like that, but absorb the lessons of the modern era and incorporate better, particle graphics and other cool things.
And there's still games coming out that kind of look like that. Like Desperado is not a terribly old game. I think it was like 2015 or something like that. And it's like a beautiful HD, but it has...
I missed it.
Kirk's trying to freak me out. He's doing a pretty good job.
I was doing this.
But so that like isometric style, I think, has a lot of nostalgia for a lot of people who were PC primary in that era.
Oh, and that's where this game comes into my life. So I actually bonded more with my mom over video games than my dad, even though my parents are both fairly technically savvy people, but my mom was always interested in games. In fact, she played more Age of Empires, especially Age of Empires 2, than I ever did.
Yeah.
And I love Age of Empires, but to the point where we got most of the other games in that same kind of that narrow bandwidth. So we didn't get into like the Command and Conquer or like the Civ or any of those. I need to get into Civ. I've never played any of those games, but we played Age of Empires 2, Empire Earth,
right?
Age of Mythology, and I have also played Age of Empires 3 and 4 as well a little bit.
Did you ever get into like StarCraft or Warcraft?
I really didn't, but I think I just missed the boat on that one, and I would go back. I've heard StarCraft 2 is excellent as well. But,
the whole StarCraft series is worth experiencing, especially like they've gone back and done remasters on them to make them a little bit more palatable in the modern day. But the first StarCraft game is, you can just get it. It's Blizzard just made it freely available, so you can just download it and play it. I mean, you can do that with every game, but it's not piracy in this case.
Well, and RTS is one of those genres that is kind of more, it's more feasible for smaller studios than some other genres to make. So like there's some good indie studios cranking out RTS as well. But this one, was one that we got kind of in that intervening era. And looking back, I'm not surprised that I think we played other games like of the Age of Empires or the Age of, as opposed to the this kind of offshoot, because they were better. But I will talk about, I will probably acknowledge every criticism you guys have, but I also have a couple things that I think this does really well. But yeah, so it was kind of a way of bonding with the family, or just having kind of like a commonality in gaming there. Sure. So that's really where the core of my experience with it is. And I have some heavy nostalgia goggles for it.
So I'd not ever experienced this game before. My understanding is that it's some of the same development staff from the original Age of Empires. Is that right?
I believe so.
Okay.
In fact, it even claims something to that effect in the opening cinematic, which is kind of cool for the age.
Yeah. And it's Sierra, and Sierra was the big dog of PC gaming at the time. I mean,
and especially RTS.
Yeah. I mean, they were everywhere. I mean, before we did the podcast, I was doing the blog, and I was talking about King's Quest, like the King's Quest series.
Yeah,
that was Sierra. Sierra was everywhere.
That's true. That was what Roberta Williams with Sierra. That's right.
Yeah. And so when I saw the Sierra logo pop up, I was like, okay, I know where we're going with this. This is gonna be good.
That's another departure that I'm gonna have to frustrate you guys with is King's Quest 8.
Oh yeah, I will happily.
It's nothing like any of the other King's Quest games.
Is that the 3D one?
Yeah.
Oh fuck that game. No, I've played that one. God damn it. Oh Jesus Christ.
I'm glad you said Roberta Williams, because I'm like, for the last we started talking about, I'm like, who's that lady? It's Roberta something, and then my brain kept defaulting to Roberta Baumgar, and I'm like, Kirk, isn't that like a Canadian astronaut? So, I've had
is that just what it sounds like to you, or is that for real?
Yeah, it was like it was just going around in my head. I'm like, I was really thinking hard. I'm like, what's her name?
Yeah. Hey, have you guys seen Roberta Baumgar for a while, No, I think she's in space. Oh, that explains it.
Well, that's excellent. I like the idea of just wandering around. Like, I haven't seen her for a while, It's
like, yeah. Well, that's why I kind of been quiet. I'm just like, what's her name? Just stewing over here until someone finally said it. Thank God.
That's awesome.
I've been locked up for the last 10 minutes. Just thinking fucking.
So I played a lot of Age of Empires and AoE 2. I still play AoE 2. I play it online, and that's a mistake. I'm very bad at it. I don't know why I subject myself to it, because
some of the other people are just ridiculous.
Dude, the clicks per minute people. It's like, oh, dude. But I've always, RTS is the one genre that I have always played online. And StarCraft was the beginning of that for me. So that's my one multiplayer genre. And I don't know why, because like I say, I'm bad at it. But so again, I pulled this up and I was like, oh, okay, cool. Because I had no idea. I literally had no idea what this even was. You said Empire! Then I was like, okay, let me go to GOG. I bought it, installed it, and I thought it was going to be a Civilization clone from the cover and everything. And I was like, oh, cool. Some of those are really fun. Even Call to Power, which is bad, is still a good time if it's stable enough to not crash every 5 seconds, which it's usually not. But so yeah, I came to this going, okay. And then when it starts, it has, and you mentioned it has a no shit 10-minute FMV.
Yeah. And fairly well rendered for the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. No, for certain. It looks good for 2001. Yeah, absolutely.
For 2 months after 9/11, it will look pretty good.
Yeah. But it made me think.
I'm sure they did it before 9/11. I'm sure they were like, do-do-do-do-do. What was that noise? I don't know, keep rendering.
Jesus.
I'm sorry.
The idea that they're close enough to hear it. They're like, fuck it, let's keep working.
Yeah.
Although to be fair, video game publishing, they probably were just fucking get it done. Yeah, whips. But yeah, I like no shit, like 10-minute FMV, and it reminded me of the Alpha Centauri opening.
Yeah, that's a pretty long one too.
Yeah, but the Alpha Centauri one, they do a lot of like real world stuff, and they do some like, and a lot of it's like ships and things that render pretty well. This one is like all people. It's just people running around, and it's blank, expressionless face people, and very dramatic, like C-tier voice acting, which is a theme in this game.
Yeah. Voice acting is not. It's some games at the time though didn't put the budget into, and others did for sure. Because Age of Empires, or was Age of Empires 2 voice acted?
Yeah, there's some voice acting in it,
but definitely like when you get into like Age of Mythology and like the subsequent games have like A or S tier voice acting, like, you know, they committed fully to the experience. But, you know, it was also at that cusp where graphically we're getting beyond representing multiple features with like 3 pixels. And we're getting to where we can represent more complicated. We're not relying on MIDI sound anymore. We're you know, we at the very least we're using wave sound, and we're using, you know, rendered movies. And I think we're realizing that video games can be a cinematic experience.
Absolutely. And yeah, and so like it's one of those things, and this is something that I know we've talked about before on the show, but
this is exactly why nude mods exist in video games too.
Exactly.
It's like, what if a video game but porn?
What if video game but tiny pixelated boobies? But yeah, so like I watching it, and I was like, okay, so I'm trying to like put myself in the headspace, and it is the thing that we keep coming back to on the show, where it's this era specifically, that transition from 2D to 3D, the beginning of FMVs, the beginning of voice acting, all this kind of stuff in that like 1996 to 2004-ish era. You kind of have to, you kind of got to have nostalgia for it, because it's rough to come back to some of this stuff.
It's very transitional.
Yeah. It was like there's a Diablo like that somebody recommended me that's like still in active development, but it's from this era. I can't remember the name of it. I'll look it up and post it in the show description. But
posted in the down there.
Yeah, in the down there, in the dibbly-doo.
Dibbly-doo.
And I picked
That's its
it up.
name now.
Yeah, it's the dibbly-doo.
Yeah.
And I was playing it, and I was like,
make sure to like, comment, and dibbly-doo in the dibbly-doo.
In the dibbly-doo. If you could get down in my dibbly-doo for me, that'd be much appreciated. But yeah, I went and started playing it, and I was like, I can't do this, guys. Like I respect your right to love this game, but it's fucking terrible. And it's not fucking terrible. It's just of its era, and that's whereas I think stuff from a little earlier age is a little bit more graceful.
Yeah, there are elements of it that like it plays fairly well, and it's got some gameplay aspects that's really what, other than like the nostalgia, there's some gameplay things that I think were fairly innovative in terms of like setting it apart from Age of Empires.
Right.
But we can get to that here in a minute.
I was going to say, do we want to kind of go into gameplay a little bit?
Yeah, I think we can, because it's not a deep well of content.
Mm-mm.
It's pretty straightforward in what it is. It just does a couple of new things, or even maybe just introduces things that I'm not even aware if other games are doing some of the things, but like the powers, mechanics. So like you have units starting out, you know, like you have like priest units,
right?
That have unique powers that affect the map at large or affect larger areas. So you may be able to command an AoE attack of some sort, or like an area of denial type of thing. So maybe you have so there are a number of campaigns, and I guess one of the other, so there's like that aspect of it where there's like, you have kind of unique powers that you can call on, whereas like most RTS is kind of focused on just like unit to unit combat or like squad combat, you know, in terms of like maybe like a Civ type or, like a civilization builder, not just Civ, but like in general, where like maybe you're doing like army to army, but you're effectively, it's like unit versus unit kind of things. Mm. Whereas this kind of puts the hands of like, puts you in control of the hands of fate, so to speak, where like most of these powers are effectively like natural phenomenon, like they're hurricanes or forest fires or pestilence or some really ridiculous things, at least until you get into the more technological ages, which is one of the other calling cards of this game, which is, we're calling it, you know, Empire Earth, but they're really focusing on the age part. Like, you know, they definitely learned from Age of Empires where you're progressing through the ages, but whereas Age of Empires is, you know, what would you say, like 1,000 years of progress at most? Yeah. From like, you know, maybe maybe like the first 10,000 years of like written history. We're going from like Stone Age to like Iron Age or like maybe even like Renaissance, I guess. That's we're going further in Empire Earth. That was the part of the thought I wanted to complete, is we're going way further. And that's kind of a cool part.
Yeah, because like, so in the original Age of Empires, it's basically Neolithic through to kind of like Roman times. And then in Age of Empires 2, it's basically Dark Age through Renaissance. Yeah. And this is Neolithic through to, I almost said postmodern. I don't think that's quite the word that I meant to say. Futuristic, perhaps. I
thought you were going to say post-apocalyptic. Like it's the lack of our future.
Not wrong. But so that was really cool. And one of the things that you had mentioned in the comments was it's like, and I'm sure we'll get there later, but the thing that I had the most fun with was like the scenario builder and putting like 500 cavemen against like one tank and just hitting play and watching that happen.
I said this to the guys, but it's like the original battle simulator.
Right.
For like, not like the realistic battle simulators, which I want to play some of those. Those look really cool. But this is like exactly what Brent said. It's like if you've seen those videos where people mod Fallout 4 to see how many like irradiated death claws it takes to kill like 1,000 mud crabs or something like that. Like you can do that, which is great content for, I don't know why I love those videos, but I do. Like I love watching Elden Ring. I don't know, it's the same sort of thing, like how many rune bears does it take to take down Melania or something like that.
Well, it's like the website that, I don't know if it's still up, but it was one of my favorites in college, was you'd go and you'd input your height, weight, and like some other details, and it would tell you how many 5-year-olds you could beat up.
Yeah.
And like, the like scenario builder for Empire Earth is basically that, but a video game.
Like we can get really absurd with some of the scenarios. Like, like you said, caveman versus like a tank, or you could do like how long will it take me to nuke 1,000 sheep to death or something ridiculous like that. Cause you have nuclear bombers. Like this goes into ridiculous, weaponry versus, so like you can get really outmatched, and it actually, you can make your scenarios, like if you're going to play against even computer opponents, you can make them really difficult by getting outstripped technologically very quickly and then not being able to make it up. And there are potential balance issues with that. Yeah. Because there is such a large, and because they're like the stats of your units change dramatically from early units to late units. So like your late units have, like later eras have much more hit points and they do way more damage. So they wreck.
Well, and so that actually gets into one of my first frustrations with the game, which is the difficulty curve. So I played through the Greek campaign, and then I did some random scenarios, and then I did the scenario builder on your suggestion. And it's very obvious to me that the team that built this were like, well, yeah, if you're buying this, you must have already played a shit ton of Age of Empires. Because like this is Age of Empires with dipping mustards. This is Age of Empires with like all of the shit thrown at it that you could possibly have. And so it's basically the Kaizo Mario Age of Empires.
And they're not even trying to hide it. The interface is almost identical.
Yep.
Some of the key mappings are identical. It's
the cost of certain units
is
the same
yeah.
as it is in AoE.
Hey, you remember that a villager costs 50 food?
50 food. Yeah,
exactly.
Exactly.
Here, do it again.
Yeah. But the thing that drove me crazy is it's like, even on a lower difficulty level, the computer AI was like, their build orders were so much better, and the speed with which they got up to being able to wipe you out was so much faster. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, I get it. They're expecting me to be really good at this style of game, but I'm not anymore. It's been 20 years. Fucking chill. I'm on the lowest difficulty level. I just want to fucking build my civilization up a little bit and learn it. And yeah, it definitely felt like, because I got my ass wrecked a lot very quickly.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. I'm not great at video games. I don't make any bones about that. But
they could have handicapped the PC a little bit more.
It certainly would have been helpful, especially in like some of the, like, even the tutorial missions is like towards the end. I'm like, okay, bro, like we're going at this. And it would have been nice to have a little bit friendlier of a difficulty curve to like get me back up to speed and get me thinking in those terms before it just wiped me off the fucking map.
So I'm sure this is exactly well, actually I don't disagree at all.
Yeah.
I remember feeling exactly the same way about Baldur's Gate.
Okay.
In terms of it being kind of difficult to figure out to start. But I don't disagree with you at all. And I think that says more about, we keep going back to this era and talking about how things were different at the time. But I think tutorials and like giving you a leg up weren't as important at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I think there's just been a change in gameplay design. So, okay. Yeah, cause like I'll breeze through Baldur's Gate and really only have to save scum like once or twice in the whole fucking game. But I've also been playing it for 20 years. So my question for you is, if like, presumably you went back to play this before we talked about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. When you, like, if you just like hit random scenario and start playing, do you generally like kick ass?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think part of it is like, so it is Age of Empires with the serial numbers filed off.
Yeah.
But ultimately, like, there are different units in some cases and different, so like you have,
it's a more complex
and you have perk trees. So you have like, you have points that you accrue.
Yeah.
And
I liked that.
You can pump up stats for your civilization. Mm-hmm. And some of the really good ones cost a lot, and some of the more minor ones don't cost as much. But if you know what the units that are coming down the pipe are and what you're fighting against and what you want, you can really maximize.
Sure.
You can task villagers to, if you know it's coming. I mean, that's basic stuff. Like, you have the experience. So like I remembered like, I really like a Huskarl or something like that. Some of these, like, you know, cavalry units that are really good versus like Cornhuskers.
No. Yes.
Cavalry units from Nebraska.
The Nebraska Cornhuskers. No,
Hussars, that's right,
yeah.
Yes.
Or Hussar, if you want to be pretentious. Like, there's a way to say the names of 18th century cavalry units without sounding pretentious. I'm like, oh, Hussar is so pretentious. And yeah, what the fuck am I talking about? Anyway.
Benny puts on his monocle. He's like, how absurd.
Benny becomes hedonism bot.
So if you know it's coming, or like what you want,
yeah,
you can, because even in the campaign scenarios, there are probably technologies you don't necessarily want or need to invest your resources in.
Sure.
Because sometimes, and this is one thing that I think modern RTSs have done a little bit better, which was making resources a little less limited.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's really easy to mine out your gold and stone and iron and have none left.
Right.
Like, so and it's possible for you to burn through some of those things and then not be able to buy more units and be totally fucked for the rest of the campaign or for the rest of that scenario until the next mission, basically.
And that's something that, like, I found to be a difference between this and AoE, because in either AoE 1 or 2, and I've never played anything past that, but in both AoE 1 and 2, it's possible to, the strategy is called trash, where you exclusively focus on units that only cost wood and food. And it's possible to win games with those two resources, and it's possible to keep those resources basically infinitely. Whereas, like you're saying, like the gold and stone, and then this one adds iron, do eventually disappear.
And fairly soon compared to some games. Like, the resource piles are not, like, it is possible to mine out a single gold mine in the time it takes to get through a single scenario. Yeah. And that's not always the case in other games of the same genre from Sierra. Like, Age of Mythology, you really have to just be hell-bent on annihilating everything to, like, get through a whole gold mine. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's that was something that I noticed as well. I do want to go back to, though, you had you mentioned, and it was my favorite part of the game, the like civilization points thing where you can add, because one of the things that I've not seen in many RTS games, and I haven't seen in any RTS games from this era, is that civ points thing enables you to customize the bonuses that your units get in such a way that you can mold your civilization to your style of play. And I liked that. I thought that was really cool and clever. It was one of the things in this game that didn't just feel like dipping mustards. It didn't just feel like this, but more. It was like, that's actually a really cool innovation, and I wish that was available in AoE 2. But yeah, that one was neat.
Well, I'm glad you brought up what you referred to as trash earlier.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what I needed to learn in the beginning, because this game expects you, or wants you to, because every campaign, you're always effectively attacking somebody.
Yes.
And the game really encourages you to do that. So if you don't, and it took me a couple times when I was playing back through it, to kind of figure out how the computer works and how it thinks. I just needed to learn. It didn't matter. Just build any cheap military unit. Doesn't matter what it is. Yeah. Not only expect to prepare or expect to lose that unit, but definitely prepare to lose that, because you might as well knowingly build it knowing that you're going to lose that unit. Sure. But that's fine. So long as you keep putting that very gradual kind of pressure. Oops, sorry, I just bumped the thing. Yeah. As long as you put the just a little bit of pressure on the computer, it kind of makes the computer stop for a sec. Yeah. And it's like, oh, they're attacking. I should reallocate what I'm doing to this thing and that thing. So it slows the computer down, and they'll build up their defenses a little more. All the while you're researching more and more stuff. So it's much easier to wipe them out later on. So it's but you don't really have to do that. If you look at other RTS games, like, well, we brought up AoE, and then also like Dawn of War. Yeah. It's hell, in Dawn of War, a lot of times you can sit there and just research everything to its max, and then just in one huge wave take over the entire map. But in Empire Earth, you really can't do that. You have to put a little bit of military pressure just to get the opposing side to stop doing, their own research.
Well, and
and upgrades and whatever.
This feels like an offshoot team that said, we want to do the same thing, but there were some things that we would have done differently if we'd been in control. And so they said, okay, so let's go make that game. It's going to be the same, but it's going to be different at the same time.
One of the things that fucking amazed me, though, about this game is that a team of people worked on Age of Empires, broke off, like, we're going to fix some things. And pathing wasn't one of those things that they thought they should fix.
In fact,
Jesus
it's probably
Christ.
worse.
It's significantly worse. And this is my favorite because it's a small thing, but it's one of those things that it's like, why wouldn't you fix this? If you select a group of, I think they call them citizens in Empire Earth, they call them villagers in AoE.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But if you select a group of your workers and say build a building in AoE, just one of them will go build the building, and then you have to go back, reselect the other guys, and then say no, you also help. It's a small thing, but it's really fucking frustrating because if I have a group of 5 guys lassoed, I clearly want them to all perform the same function, and the game knows that.
Was that not working for you?
No,
yeah,
it would just send one guy to build the building, and that's the exact same way it is in AoE.
I wonder if that's a setting, because that's not how it was working on my PC. Yeah.
Okay.
You can make one villager build the building, but obviously you build it faster
With more guys. Yeah, and
the
so
more you have tasks on.
Yeah, so that's weird that it didn't work for you.
Yeah, if I selected a group of guys and hit the building, it would just send one.
That's very strange. That would be very frustrating.
Yeah, and I'm like, but that's how it works in AoE. And I was like, that's...
One of the things I tend to do is manage my population up and down as needed. So I kind of, figure out about how many villagers or citizens I need to get my resources coming in at the rate that I need.
Yeah.
And then maximize military units. And then if I've exceeded, kind of like a threshold amount of a resource, so like say I really harvested a lot of wood, then I'll kind of purge some of the citizens down. And so what I'll do when I need to I promise I'm looping back to what you're saying.
Yeah.
When I need to build new buildings or construct structures, I'll just task the town center on the structure itself, so that when I make them, they'll just automatically just end up, and then they'll be waiting there at that structure for me when they're done too.
Yeah, and the one of the things that I thought was cool about this one was in the tutorial. It did teach you about rally points and how to use them in that way.
Yeah.
Which was, again, it was a function in AoE, but it wasn't something that the tutorial taught you how to do. You can learn it on your own.
And you can queue multiple actions for units in a row. So, hey, go build this, and then immediately go and start harvesting these sheep or these trees or whatever. And then kind of, you can construct a queue of tasks for the citizens.
Yeah.
And as long as they don't get stuck behind a fucking tree
or
a building or whatever. I don't know how many goddamn times I was just like, why am I not getting any iron or any wood? And then I'd go highlight where my workers are, and they're fucking stuck behind the corner of the town center.
That is one thing that you do.
Oh my God, I wanted to...
that is one thing you have to do with this game is use the idle villager button.
Yeah.
You do need to use that fairly frequently in this game.
Sure. And that's, most RTS games, you need to get familiar with maximizing your resource inflow and build orders and shit like that. But okay.
Do we need to clarify any terms from the genre, do you think?
I have no idea. I don't know where the level of knowledge I should expect from the listener in this genre, because it's such a niche fucking thing, and obviously we've all played it enough.
I think it feels kind of intuitive, though.
I was gonna say, if you've played one RTS, it's functionally and foundationally a same in a lot of aspects as far as units. Workers are always gonna be workers.
No,
they
absolutely.
just have a different name. Like in Dawn of War, they're servitors, and AoE, they're just called workers.
Villagers.
Yeah.
Well, but no, my point is okay. Because one of the things, hey, it's inside baseball. One of the things that I've commented on with our demographics is we've got a fair number of younger listeners, and I'm wondering, because RTS was a huge genre in an era, and there are still RTS games. It's not like the genre went away, but I don't know what level of knowledge of the mechanics of this I should expect. if that makes any sense. And I don't know why I'm doing this hand gesture.
Yeah, when no one can see it.
And it's very odd. I don't like it. But no, and the pathing though, I do want to get back to that just for a second, because the Empire Earth,
like fucking your military units getting caught behind a fence or something. Oh my god, that would piss me off.
Okay, but like Command and Conquer has that, like where you're just like you look up and you're like, your fucking guys are gone. And like that's and like the Westwood Studios games are all like that, where you're like, the fuck, man. Like, so that's contemporaneous, that's fine. The thing that I've never seen before that was like specifically an Empire Earth thing is you lasso a group of fucking citizens and have them go do a thing, and they would like get mad if you used too many on a single resource pile, and then like some of them would just like revolt, and they would just stand there behind the other group of guys. Get a group of like 10 villagers to like go do a thing, and like in most RTS games they'll spread out, like they'll encircle the thing. They form 2 ranks and just stand behind it. And I'm like, what are you doing?
I think they have a limit to the number that can collect at a time, and they queue up, and then the others will fall in as soon as the others go out.
Absolutely. That's 100% what it is. That limit is not disclosed anywhere in the game.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you just have to kind of...
I always refer to it as the derp limit, where they just they're kind of confused there.
Yeah.
And just to put like a tooltip, like a hover menu over the resource to say, like
maximum of 8 villagers.
Harvest limit of 8 citizens or whatever, like would solve that problem very easily, because there are other things that have the same type of hover menu.
Meanwhile, as in AoE, you can put a limitless number of villagers on wood, and they do the white people thing, and they just destroy all the forests.
Yeah.
So that was great. I like that part. It appealed to my fucking Nordic ancestry, just watching all the old growth trees.
Imperialism.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So
it is
Empire.
So
it is.
Imperialism is kind of built in.
Yeah.
Like it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
The resources exist for me.
Capitalism.
Including you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is right. Yeah. This is correct. It's like in Minecraft where you can do a slavery.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. I gotta turn off my server now. I don't know what Antonio and Sean have been up to, but it can't be anything good. Oh no.
I'm sure there's some nightmare content there for sure. Like 100% something is not okay.
Dude, and I brought this up in another podcast. I'm sure since it's Sean in there, there's a giant veiny dick in front of my house. He already said he found my house. I'm like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
I went really far out of my way too to not be found. He found me. He always does. And there's gonna be a giant hog. I'm gonna log in one day.
He's probably enclosed your house within it.
Yeah, it's probably a fence of dicks around my house.
Your house is now within the Van Stefferens, and there's just a penis over it.
Yeah,
exactly. Yes.
Why are we saying this? We're just giving him ideas now.
He'll construct a giant dick that's like falling to earth, like a meteor dick, about to hit your house.
Oh man,
there's a funny way to say that. Didier? Mediac? Mick?
Nope, not that one.
Not that one.
Dick deer? I'll workshop it. I'll get back to you guys.
Dictoroid.
I like off the fucking cuff, man. Yes, that's it. It's a Dictoroid.
Or just Dictroid for short.
Dictroid. Dictroid sounds like the name of a guitarist from a 50s like surf rock band.
It sounds like a sexy version of an NES game.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. I saw that glint. You're just like,
yeah. No, I'm just
It's like Metroid, but with dicks.
Super Dicktroid.
Oh god, that'd be terrifying if the little aliens were just flying dicks that and
I guess schlongus around.
Technically, right
drain
now,
you of your energy. That's terrifying.
Technically, right now, Metroid is sand sticks. So,
Okay.
yeah, I feel just if you had a male character, it would be Dicktroid. I guess Metroid Prime has. Yeah, I don't care. Nobody cares about Metroid Prime. We have been talking for like an hour and 20 minutes.
Oh, I got some things to say.
Yeah,
I've been letting Benny nerd out before I kind of.
Do we want to move on to the next portion of the podcast, wherein Kirk loses his goddamn mind?
No, it's not like that. I promise. I promise. It's nothing like that. I actually hold some respect for this game.
Okay,
but yeah. Well, I can just keep.
Unlike
I can
that
talk.
Other piece of shit.
Right.
I can go ahead and just start talking about that right now. I don't care. What do you,
Benny? Do you have other things that you want to say before we tear it down?
Yeah, a little. Yeah, that's accurate. Like, really, kind of tear it down a little bit.
No, that's fine.
All right, Kirklestein, what were your thoughts on Empire?
Don't ever do that again. No, so when I've always been like a fan of RTSs.
Sure.
I've brought it up a couple times in the past. I'm more like the turn-based, the Civ kind of thing.
Yeah.
But still, RTSs are definitely my jam. Especially, we've talked about Myth. I don't know if I've brought up Dawn of War. I really, really love the original Dawn of War series. It's some of my favorites.
Have you fiddled with that? The new implementation for Soulblighter that makes it playable on modern. I sent it to you.
I have not, but I should.
Yeah. It's a fan project, and it you can play it at modern resolutions and
right on. But War Myth was more like, here are the units you have,
right?
Or Dawn of War is like, you can keep making units,
sure.
But either way, still RTS.
Yeah.
So I've been playing RTSs for a really long time, and I swear I first played Empire Earth. It was part of the Greek campaign, came in on like a demo disc because demo discs existed not just for consoles but PC too. So think about that, because demos are just not a thing. It's rare to get an actual demo.
Yeah.
If anything, it's like an early release, but like you still have to load the entire game.
Yeah.
That's all you get anymore. So I remember, as a kid, my first impressions were, oh, cool. So these are like actual 3D characters.
Yeah.
And with the, I didn't know what it was back in the day, but like I was, I was extrapolating that in my head, like, oh, so it's like the texture is wrapping around. Yeah. So, and it was a leap from the 2D space, or at least the 2D sprites you normally get in a lot of those other games I mentioned. Dawn of War was 3D though.
Yeah.
But like, AOE and,
Command and Conquer.
Yeah, Command and Conquer. All that. A lot of that was like the 2D.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, cool. Someone is making the jump to 3D. So even still this day, I commend them greatly. Somebody had to do it.
Yep.
Just like when, good example, Mario 64.
Right.
Somebody had to make the jump to 3D, and it was up to them to make it work or not. Empire Earth in that aspect, I think works.
Yeah.
But the technology that was available really made it horrifying. So I'm pretty sure, and again, I don't mean horrifying like it sucks, like horrifying like genuinely terrifying.
No, it's a fucking ugly game.
Oh yeah. Like, so
it's really not pretty.
At some point there's like a short cutscene, and the voice acting, it just really is the icing on this cake.
Yeah.
But like during the Greek campaign, like one of the little 3D characters like kind of runs up to the screen.
Oh god.
But it's like the heads of these characters are not fleshed out. Like it's basically a fucking upside down triangle. An upside down 3D triangle with a face stretched across it with a big teethed fucking grin. And that's when I realized I had found my sleep paralysis demon.
The choice to zoom in on some of the models was questionable.
It was a bad choice. They shouldn't have done
if
that.
If it was just like a pixelated stretch smile, I probably could have lived with it. But the teeth,
the horrifying grimace,
yes,
stretched across like
it was so bad. And then the voice acting was just phenomenally bad.
Yeah.
Like, we're kind of amateur podcasters, and I think we could easily do a way better fucking job. It was so hokey and so kind of borderline phoned in. But when I look at the history, I guess, like, some of the people who were doing the voice acting were actually working on the game, too. They weren't voice actors, so I give them some credit there. Like, these weren't professionally trained voice actors. I mean, we're not, duh.
Right.
But still, like, it sounded so phoned in. I'm kind of like, what the hell were they thinking? But then again, at the same time, during that era, voice acting in video games was still somewhat new. Still very new.
Yeah, but one of the things I love that your experience with it was the Greek campaign, because that's the one I played as well, and the accents.
Oh God!
That they chose to give the characters wobbled insanely between like West African and Russian and French, and it made me so happy. It was absolutely batshit insane. And yeah, this is totally the era of we need somebody to do voice acting. Hey, Jimmy from accounting, come over here. I mean, like famously, the guy who's Kane in the Command and Conquer games worked at Westwood, right? Some of the other people who did voice acting in the Command and Conquer series were actual voice actors, but he was just a guy who worked at Westwood, and weirdly, he was the best voice actor out of any of the people in the Command and Conquer series. They didn't get quite that lucky with Empire.
No.
Well, yeah, like at the same exact time period, like Final Fantasy IX. No voice acting, period.
Yeah.
It was still a very big transitional leap in this age of technology that we were going through at this time. Like, with the 2D going to the 3D, no voice acting versus voice acting. So, again, somebody had to do it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's what sets the bar.
Yeah.
And it's just, unfortunately, it aged so poorly. I was playing this and...
It's so
for like, what it's worth. I did genuinely. I always do. I remember as a younger kid the English versus French campaign. I always enjoyed that. That was always a lot of fun. The Germany one I kind of hated. It was kind of, to me, it was dull.
I will say, like, any of the stuff that takes place in like between like the 17th and like 19th century era of like civilizations in Empire Earth are pretty fun to play, like especially like some like the primitive firearms based units are just fun.
Yeah,
because you really get the effect of the volley fire.
Yeah,
and so like there's kind of like a satisfying cadence to battle at that point.
Sure.
Whereas like in the beginning, you like Stone Age, Bronze Age, like you basically have like the little kids with pool noodles effect kind of thing again. Again. Like, and that it's just kind of silly because at that point it's just like whose DPS is better, like who initiated combat first wins because all the units are the same. But in this case, where you have like ranged units, your tactics and like how you maneuver into battle matters more.
Yeah.
And like cannon and like when you get to that stage, I think battle is more fun.
Well, and that sucks because I didn't get a lot of time with that like era.
Well, hey, you still own it.
Yeah, that's true. I'll go back. I'll go back.
If you never go back, you're not going to hurt my feelings.
Oh no, like I have
a newer RTS game on my Steam library that went on sale.
Yeah.
I'm going to play that one again before I ever spin up, or I'm going to play that first before I ever spin up Empire Earth again. It was appropriate it was a nice divergence for the podcast. It was kind of fun nostalgically to go back. Don't go back if you don't want
to. That's right. No, and one of the things is like I'm generally, and we were Kirk and I were talking about this before the podcast. Like, I'm generally a pretty positive guy when it comes to art. Like, not necessarily like human beings and the outlook of the planet and stuff, but like art, I like most art. I like most movies. I like most music. I like most video games. Most of the time, if you put a piece of art in front of me, I will find the good in it. I'll be like, okay, I see where this is underappreciated or where someone would get the joy out of it. I want to find that in this. And so I absolutely will go back and try and play some more in that genre.
I also feel like you like that period in history
I do,
a lot,
very
so I
much.
think you might enjoy those campaigns more.
If we can ever get it to work on Kirk's computer, I'd love to do Europa Universalis, which is one of my very favorite games, and it is a like grand strategy game set in that like Baroque and Napoleonic kind of era.
Oh, I did
Napoleonic,
get it.
that's the right word.
Yeah, they had. So if you get it from GOG,
Mm-hmm.
it is kind of like broken, but they do have like nice community guides where how you can get it to work. So yeah, I did try it at one point, but we had already moved on, and I did get it to work. So
yeah, okay.
Just the official fix at the time when you send it to me, that or the quote unquote official, just was not working for me.
Okay.
And part of the problem too is that I had like a really super high res monitor, and I deliberately like someone finally like you always find that obscure post lower in the forums. They're just like, hey, if you're running anything over this resolution and this frame rate, it's even this fix, quote unquote, is not going to work.
There's a community mod / whole game called For the Glory that is basically it just takes the Europa Universalis 2 game and updates it for modern computers, and I might just say that'll be the game that we play because it works flawlessly on modern PCs and it's a fucking great game.
And there's that porn parody of it, For the Glory Hole. That's a
a
really good game
sure.
too. Oh my god,
the
the whole having to manage the business while not getting caught. That's so fucking crazy, right?
Napoleon doing the goatsy. Yeah.
Well, then the religion, the Hole for the Glory.
Yeah.
It came out of it as well.
The sequel. Yeah.
Oh god. All right, guys. Do we have anything else we want to say about Empire?
Just there's a time and a place for everything. This game did fall in exactly where it needed to.
Yeah. I've
always taken this akin, like if you're an art nerd, I'm not a big fan, oddly enough, of Picasso because I felt like he collected more than he painted, which annoys me. So this is kind of falls in that same way where the game was trying to remake something it already did, but it was heavily borrowing from everyone else, but just doing it in a different way.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you can make that if you're catching that comparison there. What I was saying, but to me that's what it like. There is a place for it, and it still worked. Just to me, not very well.
If I had played, and it's so weird because as soon as I like pulled up the GOG page for it, I was like, I remember that box. Like I remember walking by that box.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've talked many times about like the Walmart in the closest town to where I grew up that had a store, that had a aisle of PC games.
Yeah, with the big boxes back in the day too. The whole huge, gigantic fucking boxes that were completely unnecessary.
So wish I would have kept those.
Yeah,
the artwork was so good. But
there was a time for us where a lot of us.
There's a time for us. Mm-hmm. Somewhere a time for us. Sorry.
No, keep going.
Well done.
Hold my hand and we're halfway there. No, I'm not doing it anymore.
No, give me a little more. Give me just a little more.
Hold my hand.
Thank you.
And we'll take you there somewhere. All right, now I'm done. Okay. Benny.
All I was going to say is... I like it.
That was good. That was good.
Big boxes. You like big boxes and you cannot lie.
That's how we decided which games to buy, and you cannot lie.
Exactly. There you go. But yeah, I remember walking by Empire Earth and not knowing what it was, but thinking the artwork looks really cool. And the fucking front cover looks super cool.
It's dope.
Yeah. With like the guy with the fucking like big horse hair thing. He looks like he's got a mohawk, but like like more frumpy. I don't know.
Like
anyway,
what were they? Yeah, the
like cavalry helmets,
like the Spartan.
Yeah. From
helmet kind of thing.
Yeah, that's neat. But so it's one of those things where if I had grabbed that box. God damn it! Trump fucked me up so hard.
I'm glad you and I were like in sync.
Yeah, because I'm like, okay,
oh,
if I had picked that game, there we go, instead of not European Renaissance, Age of Empires 2, like they were on the shelves together. If I had grabbed Empire Earth instead of AoE 2, I would be talking about how Empire Earth is like clearly the superior game, because it kind of is. Like, it's got way more detail, it's got way more strategy to it.
It's got some mechanics that don't even exist in the previous games.
Absolutely. Like, it is a deeper RTS than I think any of the other ones that were available at the time. But I get to play Age of Empires 2 HD Definitive Edition with quality of life enhancements and all the shitty 90ness of it stripped away. And then to compare that to Empire Earth is a totally unfair comparison, but that's where I'm coming to it from. And Empire Earth made me not happy. And so I think it's one of those things where, yeah, I think if I had made a different choice at age 14, this would have gone very differently for me. But as it is, I think if you want an Age of Empires like RTS game, my recommendation would be AoE 2 Definitive Edition. And there's still like tournaments and shit for that online, which is crazy.
And if you want like wacky abilities and like things that are more
Age
supernatural,
Mythology.
of Mythologies is where that's at
for sure. And that was one of the things that I did like about Empire Earth, is I felt like it kind of bridged that gap a little bit with some of the more like religious, mythological kind of crazy shit in there too.
Kind of like it, like I mentioned it briefly earlier, but you take kind of nature into your own hands a little bit.
Yeah.
You can weaponize like the natural state of the world a little bit to your advantage without getting like straight up like mystical, although it is kind of that.
Yeah.
But so I think that that's another thing, like that gives it a little layer on top of the AoE series, that there's just things can, like, battle can change in a moment. Whereas like in AoE, once you're fucked, you're fucked.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was just, I'm glad, this really dovetails.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm using it against
Kurt's
her now.
giving me the eyes over.
Does it have a certain je ne sais quoi?
Yeah. I was gonna say that kind of goes into what I wanted to bring up at some point is if you've ever played the game They Are Billions, or is it They Are Millions? I'm thinking it's They Are Billions. But it is exactly like Empire Earth, and exactly that way. It plays the same way, and when you are fucked, you're just fucked, and you lose. No, but that is also an RTS. So, and I
just described my life.
Yeah, no, but like really, it's usually pretty cheap on Steam. Okay. I'm pretty sure it's They Are Billions. It's just like Empire Earth, but like a modern version of it.
Okay.
Interesting.
A lot of the same, like, weird difficulty curves.
Okay.
Like if you're not ready for it, and really, I think playing Empire Earth, if you've ever played it, kind of better prepares you for this game in specific, because you can't just build up your well, in this case, your village and get it as super strong and then defend. Like, you have to be doing all of it at once.
Sure. Yeah.
And you need to be counterattacking, so to speak, at the same time. Otherwise, you will get overwhelmed and you will lose. And there's no amount of coming back that's going to save you. Okay. You might as well just start the fucking level over again.
Yeah, I'm always on the lookout for like a good modern RTS game because I feel like it. As I mentioned earlier, I feel like it's a genre that's kind of fallen into the background. Like there
a little bit.
There are some definitely, but I don't feel like any of them are as prominent culturally as these like late 90s, early 2000s games were.
I think they feel like they're below the threshold of what is needed to warrant like AAA treatment.
Yeah. Yep.
Damn.
Even doing like graphically the kinds of things, you could probably I don't know, you could probably find some way to leverage like Unreal Engine
Sure.
to make an RTS, and then you'd have you could make a ray traced
Shut up.
4K high res, fully 3D RTS, and have all of the trappings of that with a team a tenth of the size or less than what a AAA studio would spend on making the next Call of Duty game.
Oh, you're so close to walking into something that I want to rant about for like 15 minutes because I have this whole thing about like people are talking about like, oh, it's the next video game crash and everybody's all gloom and doom and yeah. Benny, I'll give you last. You got anything you wanna add before we call this episode quits?
I don't know. It's an ugly game that plays pretty well.
He said it
pretty well,
and I don't know. I have a lot of nostalgia for it. I think it's playable now. I think it not just that like you can, but like I think you can tolerate playing this game if you can stand to look at it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it is what it is. It's a product of its time, and I said, it's like a transitional fossil.
Yeah, it's a fucking index fossil. It is the
This is Lucy. This is Lucy's skeleton in the RTS.
Well, we won't top that. That's excellent. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us here today as we talked about Empire.
I wasn't ready for that one. I almost spit out beer.
There are billions. $30 on Steam.
Damn, dude, that's a lot.
It's good though. If you want a game that's gonna an RTS that's gonna frustrate you, like how Empire Earth likely would frustrate you. It's very similar in a lot of ways. They are billions.
Although you could get Empire Earth on GOG for less than $5, I think.
$5, yeah.
For what it's worth.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for joining us.
I can't tell if Kirk's mad at me. He looks like he might be mad, but all I can see is his eyes.
I can't.
So he could be flirting, or he could be.
He's horny.
Dead-eyed.
That's the emotion that is.
Yeah.
If you like what we're doing, please come check us out. We're on YouTube, Amazon, Spotify. We've got a Discord. We've got a Facebook. We've got other things. You can come shout at me on Reddit if you can figure out my handle.
Everywhere. Phone polls. Quick Trip.
Methyl-Hy-Vee. It's fine.
Click the buttons in our downstairs.
Yes, our dibbly-doo.
Dibbly-doo.
Yeah. If you wanna come play with my dibbly-doo, find us on Discord.
Hey, where are you going? Don't unsubscribe.
No,
he didn't mean you.
It's fine. No, and actually don't. My wife would be mad. All right. Yeah. We love you guys. You're the best. And what other things? Oh, I'm going to try and make more YouTube shorts. If anybody watches those, tell me. Because apparently that's how you're supposed to promote things on YouTube now. So if you like the ones that I'm making, let me know. And if you don't, and you're annoyed that they keep popping up in your subscription feed because you just want to listen to the podcast and you don't want weird shorts cut out of the podcast that you already listened to, tell me that too. And I'll probably be doing a Let's Play here in the next couple days. My theory is I'll start doing Let's Plays of the games that we're getting ready to do, so you can have a little clue as to my reaction before we actually do the podcast. And other than that...
Nobody likes YouTube Shorts. It's like TikTok with extra steps.
I know, but YouTube's putting
algorithm, and you have to
that
tickle them just right.
Exactly. That's the thing. What he said.
And the diddly-doo.
Yeah. Tickle their dibbly-doo until the algorithm spurts subscription juice all over your face.
Oh, no.
That's fucking hot.
I just said we couldn't have gone with completes.
Nope. That's
No.
okay. Bye.
Jesus.
Tickle the until they squirt subscriber juice all over your face.
Jesus.
Oh. Why do people let me in front of a microphone? I don't understand.
Brand, I think I'm gonna buy you one of these. I think you're gonna fucking love this.
That is sick.
I might just buy one and fucking mail it to you and just be like, Happy Early Christmas or whatever. You gotta buy shit on your own.
Empire.